Hello everybody, welcome to the 6.82 patch analysis. My name is SUNSfan, joined by syndereN, brought to you by Pepto-Bismol, of the cherry variety, I must say. This is an enormous update. Like huge. Like as big as your testicles, syndereN. What are your thoughts on that?
It's not that big.
Okay.
I don't like. Why are you giving free advertisement for Pepto Bismol? You need to.
No, it's the
We need
same.
to sign a deal.
That's actually the strategy. One day
Personal
I will,
sponsorship.
yeah, they will sponsor me one day. Once they see that I'm a very, well-known person plus IBS, it's just a perfect combination for them. One day they'll see. Okay, anywho,
But yeah,
we better get
this
started
patch
because
is
knowing you,
huge.
this is going to be a 5-hour video, so we'll try to cut it down as much as we can. Okay, starting out with the fountain area is now reworked a bit, has higher elevation, meaning no, well, I shouldn't say no, but it's harder to fountain dive because you'll miss. And, well, vision actually is a bigger deal here, as you can see on the bullet points. I'm not going to, like, read everything. You guys can read, pretty sure. What are your thoughts on the fountain
Yeah,
work?
the first 4 points are basically just. It seems like all of this is just to prevent fountain diving or to discourage it. Basically, there's nothing else. It's harder to get into the fountain, harder to dive people. So hopefully, there's less diving and the game's end faster. I can't see any other reason for these
Praise the
four.
pub lord. That's all I have to say. But I'm actually happy about that. I mean, when you get destroyed, you don't want to add insult to injury and sit there for the next 30 minutes, but it'll probably still happen anyway. Okay, anyway, the biggest change, well, actually, okay, there's probably like 5 that I would say are top 5 biggest changes in this patch. This is the rework of the Roshan area as well as a bunch of areas in general, which I'm going to be looking at pictures. For those of you that haven't seen this in game or anything like that, we have videos on this on our channel as well. So you take each picture, syndereN, and tell me your thoughts.
Okay, so the first one is obviously showing the new Roshan positioning. This is something that got suggested a long while back. It's a great way of solving the problem that Dire has an innate Roshan advantage. At this point, I feel like if they have one, it's very minimal. Maybe they don't have one at all, because now you can't really sneak into Rosh anymore. The Dire tower isn't in a much better position than the Radiant one any longer. Still slightly, perhaps, but to me, the most important thing is the area outside Roshan will be really heavily contested now with warding, and yeah, if nothing else, the Dire advantage at this point is much lower. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, and
Um,
I like this pathway by the tower, like you were talking about. Okay, I'm gonna actually click on this. I hope that's not a mistake. Uh, is that so? When you come up the stairs from the river, are you seen by the tower at that first tree area in that pathway?
so you mean the stairs going right from the river?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me see. I haven't tested the game yet, I have to say, in the client, but
Yeah.
I think if you cut the corner, I don't think the tower sees you. So it's a really interesting assault spot, mainly,
Yeah. Okay.
for the Radiant.
That's the most interesting thing for me in this side of the map, other than the Roshan pit, obviously. Oh God, what have I done?
And there's way more juking spots too.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
that's true. Well, we haven't even. We can just. You guys can watch the video. We don't need to go over this too much. But there's basically 3 pathways to each secret shop now, putting a little bit more symmetry in our life, syndereN. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. And I think, let me see, is it the same for both Dire and Radiant that you can now? Yeah. So the
You're talking about
Radiant
the
one,
ward.
the Radiant one, which is picture number 4, I think, shows that you can now go to the secret shop directly from your tier 1 tower,
Hmm.
which is
Yes.
really relevant. Actually, it cuts a lot of time off for the offlaner. So
And the
and
ward
gives him another
spot.
juking spot.
You've seen the ward spot, right? Oops, that's the wrong picture. Let's see.
I'm like, this is a little hard for me to follow because I'm not sure which one you're looking at.
Okay, well, if you look, yeah, I don't know which picture this is. It's like by the secret shop of Dire, or I should say next to the tier 2 tower, bottom lane. There's
Yeah.
a spot that you would think you could ward before. Now you can ward. Like it has the eye on the cliff, basically. That's new. And then in
Okay.
addition,
Oh yeah,
the
that one. Yeah.
the Radiant have like on this Mayan. I don't know what you want to call it. I always think it's like a Mayan,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever that thing is
That
called,
was also. Yeah.
pyramid. Yeah.
I know
So
what you mean.
okay, I think that's a pretty cool change. And then some changes in the pathways of trees for the side shop area at bottom lane, as well as so tell me the reasoning. This I think, yeah, the second to last picture, the trees. Is this like better for Dire off lane? Is that the purpose for this? You have more places to hide. Tell me about these last 2 pictures, then we'll move on.
It's not specifically places to hide. I think it's just more juking spots, and I think that's also the pattern that's showing in the other pictures is that the number of possibilities you have in terms of movement in the woods have generally been really limited, and now they've made a couple more pathways so that there's more opportunities for big plays, basically.
Hmm.
So if I have a hard time when I'm looking at the picture, I'm not completely sure how big the fog area is, but I can imagine that if you take any of these paths, you can get into the fog pretty quickly. So it's mainly that, and then for this one in particular, the second lowest picture is interesting because there's no new ward spot here. The other two interesting new pathways with the new warding spots, that's kind of a way of countering them, right? So if you look at the Dire Tier 2, you set the cliff there. If you ward that one, you kind of cut out some of the escape routes for the Dire, and it also helps you assault the Tier 2, and it's exactly the same for the Radiant with the Mayan Cliff, you called it. So
Right.
I'm not sure what the big change is on the last picture. There is a little bit, I guess. It's like one or two trees that were removed, I think.
Yeah,
It's
if I
not
click on it,
that much.
so it looks like there's a pathway from side shop from the Dire side. Like you can actually walk all the way through to the side shop. Does that look right to you?
Yeah, I think so. Beforehand, you needed to cut a tree. Now you
Right. And
don't. I
now,
think
can
that's
you
it.
get in that pathway from the Radiant side, or do you have to cut down a tree? Because I can't tell if this is like blocked off. I guess there's no way to really know, but it looks
Uh,
blocked off. If so, that's like
I
a lot of
think
cover
you
for Dire.
can't. Well, or maybe, actually, if you look right above the secret shop guy, or to the top left of that, I think those two big trees right to the top left of him, you might be able to cut through.
Yeah. Okay.
Looks like they might, but
Um,
I don't know.
okay. And then actually, one last thing about Roshan that we didn't touch on with this change. Scouting it out via Radiant, I would think, is infinitely easier. I'm trying to remember, like, what would you typically scout with if you don't have like a global range? Like, if you don't have like a clockwork rocket, what's something that is good to scout with vision?
Power shot.
Um, okay, power shot. Okay. Wave of terror. That's another one.
Yeah.
Would
hmm
do those reach? Did those reach originally, like in the last map?
If you cast it from your choke or from your warding spot, you mean that little cliff?
Yeah.
Uh, I think power shot could, but I'm not sure about wave. And regardless, the opportunities now is that you can even cast it from your own. The what's that? That's the medium camp. You can shoot from there
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
and
Yeah,
scout
down
from there.
here.
So you don't
Yeah.
even need to expose yourself in the rune area anymore to check. Beforehand, you were at way more risk. So that's a good point too. Dire had another advantage in that regard. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, what is okay? This is the last time I'm gonna talk about the ward spot. When you look at the Roshan picture, it's above Roshan by the ancient camp. Um, how
Yeah.
much vision does that give exactly? I mean, it doesn't give any vision to Roshan pit, obviously, but does it give any vision to the river? Like, I can't even picture how the range on wards are.
So if you compare, well, this spot is higher, right, in altitude. It's like, is this similar to in height to the one in the radiant side? You know, the one I'm talking about is the bottom leftmost spot in the radiant jungle. You
Is
know
it
that
in one of these
high cliff?
pictures? Oh,
It's
I
not in
see.
this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
No.
Okay, yeah.
The high cliff next to the big camp,
Right, right.
bottom left radiant jungle. If is that the same altitude as this one?
I don't know for sure.
I would think this cannot see. Maybe it can see the rune, and then that's like the periphery, right?
Hmm. I'd have
I
to, yeah, we
think,
have to test. I mean, like
but I'm not
if that
sure. It's
doesn't
not
reach the
visible.
rune, it's like that doesn't seem like the greatest ward placement. But I obviously could be wrong because we haven't tested any of this out.
It's really good to control the Roshan area, right? Because even though you can't see Roshan, you can see all movement around the pit. So if you're doing Roshan, or if you want to prevent it, this ward is extremely good.
Hmm.
Because like when you're assaulting Roshan beforehand, let's say you were Radiant and you wanted to go for Roshan, I believe you can place this ward from inside the pit. Actually, if you're standing where Roshan is, you could probably reach up there with a ward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you secure yourself a lot by that. Even smokes will be hard to reach you with because you'll see them coming in. Beforehand, you had to like ward uh, top left of the Roche pit, top right of the Roche pit on the high ground, and maybe even have vision to the bottom right if they assault you from that path. And now this one ward maybe can really safeguard it. So who knows? Maybe I don't know who this ward spot is the bigger buff to be honest. I'm tempted to say Radiant because they all have more interest in assaulting in this area rather than playing defensively. But
Hmm.
good
Well,
for both.
very interesting changes. Everybody berated me, including you, I might add, for my suggestions of changes to the map. This is one step in that direction, and I'm going to be very bold and say within the next couple years, I think they're just going to do what I originally wanted. But it actually depends on how well this works, I suppose. But we'll see.
Dotacinema lobbyism right there.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, moving on. Added a bounty rune. Now this, okay, not that there's anything wrong with this. In fact, I'm a proponent for looking at other games, comparing yourself, getting the best of, it's kind of like other games are testing things for you. They're the guinea pigs, and if something works, which I don't even know if this is the case, I'm just assuming so. If something works, just take it and roll with it. And the bounty rune is basically from Han. So the way that Han worked, this is after I quit, a rune would always spawn in the opposite location. It didn't actually do anything as far as I know other than fill up your bottle. So the difference with this one is it also gives you 50 XP plus 5. Is that plus 5? What does that mean? Plus 5 a minute.
Yeah, so if you're 10 minutes in game
Oh, I
time,
see.
it gives 100 XP and 70 gold.
Okay.
Scales.
Okay.
It's the only rune that scales.
So the biggest thing with this, I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to try to combat bottle crowing. I mean, there's other things in the patch that we'll go over at some point, but that's probably the biggest reason. And when I look at this, it's like I feel like the only thing that, I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong, but the thing I think about the most is that supports are just constantly going to be hounding these runes. So it's not like the guy in middle is going to be going to these runes every time. It's just maybe supports are buying more bottles these days. I don't know. Because you're guaranteed to fill up your bottle every time, every 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting things you can do with this. It could become way more popular to play roaming support with a bottle. Of course, bottle is more expensive too, but we'll get to that later. But not that much. So you can roam for roam for runes, and I'm not sure if I want to call it combating the bottle crowing rather than making mid lane more fair. Because the reason bottle crowing is used is that it's the way of balancing out if you don't get the rune. Because the rune is an all or nothing thing, and now it isn't anymore. So indirectly, yes, it will combat that, but I think the right way of looking at it is this is not to remove bottle crowing, but bottle crowing shouldn't have been necessary in the first place. That was a comeback mechanic, I'd like to call it, basically. It was used as more than that, especially, like, some people would just spam out the lane and even bottle crow twice before the rune came up if the courier isn't in use at all. And that can still be done, right? You can still bottle crow. I'm not sure how much slower the courier is now. We'll also get to that. I haven't tested it. But for me, I like this change a lot because it was one of the biggest problems I had with the game, actually, was that I felt like the rune was too much of a gamble. It's a 50-50. There's plenty of situations in almost every pro game where one mid laner will go to one rune, the other will go to the other, and you roll the dice. And if you get a double damage and the other one gets nothing, you can lose the lane off that. At least now you get some sort of recovery mechanism instantly.
Right.
So I like that a lot. And the idea of giving XP and gold is, I think the logic with this is that if the enemy gets a double damage or illusion rune, he will get more last hits than you in lane. So this is a way for you to kind of, you'll probably get less than him, but it won't be as extreme as before. If you got a double damage at minute 2, you could say goodbye to 2 waves, basically. The enemy will have twice your damage and just last hit everything. All denies, all last hits. And if you don't have spell farming, you're screwed, right? So at least now you get something. So I like this a lot, actually. I think it's better than people give it credit for so far.
Well, I'm very interested to see the mechanic with the gold and XP, to be honest. I can't really picture it, so we'll just wait and see. But also to note, the runes, no matter what, actually get replaced every 2 minutes now. So it's not like if you take one, the other will, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Anywho, denied creeps now give less experience. They give 50% in fact, as opposed to just a 36 static amount. So you can see the changes there. So how does this affect the whole, like, how big of a deal is this?
This is mainly important for the mid lane, I want to say. Of course, also the offlaners will get less experience if the safe lane are good at denying, but the main thing about this is I think we've reached a point when last hitting was just, creep killing, because last hitting is both denies and last hits, right, or whatever. But killing creeps for gold was just flat out almost always better than denying creeps to deny experience, right? The main thing that happened was when denying got changed from ranged heroes getting 33% off denies to this 50 that melee heroes got. So at that point, all the ranged mid laners kind of didn't have the same amount of interest in denying as just getting their own golden experience. But now that it's worth a lot more, we'll see more focus on denying, and that means if you're playing really well in the mid lane, you can heavily out-level your opponent. This is actually a really big deal. How much is it? The first creep wave, you can deny an additional 31 experience So that of course goes for the following waves and
This is
even more.
this is Dendy's favorite change probably. I know that
Yeah,
he
it's
like
really good.
I know denying wasn't that big of a deal. Like it was helpful, but to a certain point, especially considering how much the metagame's kind of changed in the last couple of years. But Dendy continues to deny with a vengeance,
Yeah.
and for lack of a better word, and I think he's really gonna like this one. Anywho,
This might also be, I don't want to call it a hidden buff, but
mhm,
maybe it's just an obvious buff even to lane controllers, right? Because the heroes who have started dominating mid are heroes that were good at bottle crowing.
yeah,
Now the heroes that can dominate mid are heroes that are extremely good at controlling the lane. So Outworld Devourer, Viper, even a hero like Sniper with long range who can just easily last hit and deny very effectively. And heroes with high base damage too will be better in mid.
hmm
So I think this is another step to try to move a little bit away from bottle crowing and taking you back to a couple of years back when the mid laners were heroes that would just stomp one-on-one. I'm thinking there was a lot of Shadow Fiends back then. Viper was a high pick. I think even solo mid silencer was a thing, but that was before his rework. Um, what else got played mid? I don't know. There was many mid laners who just got put there to win their lane, and that was it.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this stuff much because it's a lot. You guys can click on this show details. It's scary when I click on it. Actually, there's a
First blood bonus gold reduced by 50. You forgot, but
oh yeah,
yeah.
of course.
I wasn't sure this was needed, but I guess it's okay. Maybe first bloods were a little bit too
Well, it
impactful,
seems
but
like yeah, they're trying to make it a little bit more not top heavy, if that makes sense. I mean, there's more things we can talk about later, but um, so they rework the bonus area of effect for the XP and rework bonus area of effect for Golden Streak. And so basically, actually, there's a really cool thread on Reddit which I tweeted, and I can't look at it right now, but somebody made a cool little graphic showing the differences between 6.81 and 6.82 as far as these are concerned. So, for all
put it
intents
in
and
the comment or
purposes,
put it in the video description.
yeah, I'll try to put it in the video description. But for all intents and purposes, it just means that it's kind of more of a comeback mechanism. If you're really out leveled and you kill somebody that's much higher level, you will gain more experience than usual and get more
And if
gold
you're
as a
ahead, you'll
result.
get less.
That one, from what I've been told, you get the same that you're getting now, but you would get less than what they would be getting.
Okay.
So it's a comeback mechanism, but not to like a ridiculous degree, you know. And I think the major thing for this, sure, it'll help the whole team out, but supports actually getting the kills in some instances might actually be better than the carry. If that I mean, if it's the way that I'm thinking, like they can gain like more than a level.
But this is only the AoE experience, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So the less heroes you have involved in the kill, the more they still get, like
That
before.
as far as that, I have no idea, no clue.
Um, but yeah, the actual experience for killing a hero is unaffected, right? That's unchanged. It's only the AoE XP that's changed,
And I guess that's
right?
why it says bonus area of effect. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so.
So it's the AoE when you kill, but there's also AoE experience if you're alone. So
hmm
you also get more. But the static kill experience from the kill itself is the same, but the area bonus is
Okay,
increased.
that sounds good to me. When it's math stuff, I'm like,
Yeah,
somebody else
it's
do it.
fine.
I'll chill.
Check the
It's all good.
details later, but I think you hit the nail on the head with how it's supposed to work.
Okay, so glyph now has the cooldown is now refreshed every time you lose a tier 1 tower. This is to combat like 5-man pushing, I guess.
Yeah,
In addition, tier 2 towers armor has been increased by 5, and the bounty for actually all of them has been reduced drastically. Thoughts?
that's the biggest change of the tower, I think.
Even though the one that's highlighted is the glyph cooldown.
Because that's the one that's kind of a new mechanic. The ones that are highlighted are generally things that aren't. I wouldn't say that the gold reduction isn't drastically different, but it doesn't directly affect you in the game that you can do something new. I
hmm
guess that's the way. But um, I'm not sure if this glyph of fortification nerf was actually, or buff for the defending team rather, was necessary with the armor increase in tier 2 and the reduced gold. I think that alone would have been enough to nerf the current death ball meta pretty heavily. Hopefully not completely to the ground. I mean, pushing stretch should still be viable. They're entertaining to watch once in a while, just not every game.
hmm
Um, and I'm a little worried that this is too much, like the old Morphling nerf after TI2.
Could be.
But
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We'll see. I think it's really good that the towers get buffed at least. And like the two ladder changes, I'm completely on board with. I'm a little uncertain about
Have
that,
you
but
remember?
overall,
Well, I shouldn't ask if you remember. You know how in pubs where your teammates always glyph a tower at the most ridiculous time. You're like, why did you glyph that? It was going to be lost anyway. Well, the good news is, if they use it on tier 1s, it absolutely doesn't matter. So you can have
Yeah,
solace in that, good sirs.
that's
Moving
true. You
on.
can just delay the tier 1 push for free every
Yeah,
time.
for free every single time. Like there's literally no point in not doing it, basically. Captain's mode, third ban. Okay, whatever. Fine. I can't even picture how that is, to be honest. I can't remember.
Thing
I
I
don't.
didn't get answered about that was whether it affects the third pick phase as well. So that one is reversed, but I guess it's just the
There's the
bans. So
ban.
first
Yeah.
pick still gets last pick.
Yeah, I guess so.
But this is a way I think of nerfing first pick a little bit because first pick had too many
Wait,
advantages.
wait. Okay, so the third ban phase order. So there's
Yeah,
two
that's
at the
the fifth
beginning.
ban.
Oh, I see. So, okay. I was
So instead
thinking
of
something else.
yeah,
Okay,
they're
that makes
banning the
sense.
other way around and then first pick
Okay.
picks
Okay.
last. Still, I think.
All right,
Or should.
reworked how all pick works in ranked matchmaking. I don't want to talk about this too much, but essentially, it's kind of like team pick. Like each side picks a hero, and if you don't, you lose gold. Everybody that hasn't picked a hero loses gold. This is only for ranked all picks.
Yeah.
So if you like just instant picking everybody's heroes at once, this is I think the main reason for this is to prevent just countering heroes. Like people would lose like 50 gold. Like I don't care as long as I pick a hero that hard counters somebody on the other team, then that's fine. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Uh, I I think overall this is good. I like the change overall. Like it's good to have less counter picking. My main concern with this is that it takes too long, right? Because when you queue for all pick, the reason I think one of the main reasons all pick is the most popular mode compared to captain's mode and captain's draft in ranked even is that you get games faster, right? And the games get started. You don't necessarily want to wait for a 10-minute drafting phase when you're just playing a pub game. And now this drafting phase won't necessarily take that long if people are fast at picking their heroes, but if you have 30 seconds every time to pick one hero,
Yeah.
you can add up those numbers. Then it can take 5 minutes just to pick
Well,
in an
that's
all
not
pick
even.
game.
Oh, actually, I should say after the 30 seconds, um, you random, right? Hold on. Teams up to 30 seconds.
That's after an additional 30 seconds.
Oh, I see. Okay. So there's some way
So
to combat like people just taking forever, kind of.
it's like, well, I like this idea a lot. I just think the timers are too long. I
Yeah,
would like
I agree.
the pick phase to be like 15 or 20 seconds max, and the strategy phase to be like 20, so I can get the game started.
Yep.
It's, nah, we'll see. Maybe it's good.
Agreed. Okay, Aegis duration has been decreased by a minute, so it is now 5 minutes. And I guess what everybody was complaining about to begin with was the 8 to 11 minute mark. I hear a lot of pros not really liking that mechanic, and that wasn't changed at all. But this gives you less time with the Aegis, meaning you're gonna want to push faster. They've done this so many times, I don't even know what to think anymore.
Yeah, this is a reverse, right? It used to be 5, and then it was changed to 6, and now they've reverted it back to 5. So, um, the main thing about the randomness of 8 to 11 minutes was to prevent teams from statically timing it and just camping it. Especially Dire was just exploiting that to the limit. But we'll see now with the new Roshan pit, perhaps you can actually give him back the static respawn timer without Dire having too much advantage of it. But I kind of like the randomness.
Always,
Well,
always.
this Aegis thing, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think once again the main point is just use it earlier, use it faster, and get something done.
Well, I
with your
think like
Aegis
the
instead.
whole 8 to 11 minute thing, I think that some of that is kind of remedied with both sides having easy access to scout Roshan now, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, Roshan slam area effect has been increased, and the damage increases 20 every 4 minutes. Can you do some math for me? Because I'm very tired. It is
What's the
early.
base damage of Slam?
I don't know. Just pretend there is no base damage.
Well, what point in the game are we now?
60 minutes. Let's get a
60
really late
minutes?
game.
That's
Yeah.
300 extra damage on Slam.
Okay. Not bad. Not too shabby.
But he only uses that if there's 3 heroes inside melee range.
Right, and I guess at that point you don't
So
need 3 heroes to kill Roshan. Okay, whatever. All right, so a bunch of changes, like a lot of changes, which you guys can read on the neutrals. I guess the most notable is Hellbear Smasher now gets the Swiftness aura from the Centaur Conqueror. That's one of the creeps, like as Doom, you just never want to eat because his AoE slow or whatever it is, the nuke, it takes so much mana and it's pretty much the worst skill you can get. But now you get Swiftness aura on top of that, so that's always nice. I mean, the Centaur was too good anyway, I think. That's always the go-to, I feel.
the main purpose of all of this is just to overall buff the neutral creeps that were underappreciated, or they were probably appreciated to the right degree, but now they will be more appreciated. Now it's more, you have more choices, basically.
I'm still waiting for the ancient camp that's missing from Dota 1. The one that had
There's actually
evasion.
2 camps missing,
Oh
right?
yeah, I think you might. I can't remember what the second one is though.
The Jungle Stalkers and the Dragonkin,
What were the
right?
jungle stalkers?
Those were like the big green ones that look like Yetis, just green Yetis,
Oh
kind of.
god, I don't remember.
And then the other ones were the dragon spawns that had like these huge blades and
Wait.
evasion.
Okay, those are the ones with evasion. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember the other one. Still
Um,
waiting. Ice Frog. God, should be top priority. Makes no difference.
Yeah, I guess the reason they weren't really like now that Chen. Oh, we'll get to that later. Now
Yes,
we
we
could
will.
actually see a reason to implement them.
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely. Actually, that's I didn't even think about that. That's true.
Main buff I want to talk about in this section actually is there's the swap between Centaur and Hellbear, which I like to make Hellbear more attractive. The ensnare duration up by a quarter of a second is actually a pretty big buff to Enchantress and Chen and Helm of the Dominator if you use that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that the Satyr Banisher gets buffed. This is the small Satyr, the one that has Purge.
He's the
and
baby.
That gets a lot better, especially the cast range was garbage. Now it's actually somewhat decent. 350 cast range from 200.
Mm-hmm.
Really good upgrade. So now maybe this creep actually gets interesting. If you're Chen and you get the 300 health bonus on the Banisher, it's not that bad. And Purge is an amazing ability.
Yeah.
It's also good for Doom. So, okay.
Okay, so there are a ton of spells now that are dispellable. I'm just going to look through them real quick, see if there's anything notable. Which one's Poison Touch again?
Dazzle's first skill.
Oh, that's right. Concussive Shot?
Gyrath's homing missile.
No, I know. That one's notable, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
Okay. I mean, I guess there's a bunch in here.
yeah, it's this section is
sticky
mainly just to
napalm,
make it
wow.
more. I think the way Dota 2 is headed right now is that it's trying to remove a lot of the old complicated functionality.
You can dispel Flame Guard? Holy crap. That's actually... Is there a... that might be the best one. The best counter right now.
That's a big deal. You can purge that now.
That's what, 500 magic damage shield? Is it
Yep.
500? Wow, that's pretty good. And it lasts so long. That's really good. Okay.
But
Now there's a reason to take
see
over
no
that
other point
creep.
to this than just
It's
they're
cool.
trying to make it easier to get into. A lot of the old gimmicky stuff that this ability cannot be purged for no reason is it's getting more streamlined now, so it's easier to get into the game and understand it. So I feel like there's some old cool functionality that gets lost, but overall it's probably for the better because a lot of the things, like most of these small things, are actually kind of useless. They're funny once in a while, but in the grand scheme of things, maybe it's just better to have it transparent.
All right, and then I guess the last part of this is a bunch of these skills here. As you can see, I'm highlighting no longer have a special condition for purging unpurgeable spells such as Poison Nova, and that's probably the most notable one, actually. Okay, moving on. Heroes. Abaddon, Mistcoil, Mana Rescaled. Excellent. So
Cool.
Yeah, cool. So we're going to say cool for all the stuff we don't want to talk about because there's no point.
Oh,
Alchemist.
It was too expensive on the
Alchemist, Acid Spray, negative armor increased a bit. Actually, this is in conjunction with another change, which I will scroll to. I don't know why they separated these. There it is. Acid Spray damage is now physical. It still pierces spell immunity.
Yeah, you know what?
And the damage
I think we should do that section first and then go back to the heroes.
Okay,
honestly.
yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm not
Okay.
sure why it was moved because this affects a lot of heroes.
Yes, so damage type changes. There's only physical, magical, and pure now. Spell immunity. You guys can read the specifics here, but there were so many like random things in Dota, like so many exceptions. Like new people coming in get so confused. I mean, even like veterans get confused at times. Like what was Doom's considered?
Universal.
Yeah, universal damage. There was
So let's see
HP
what damage
removal.
types are gone. Universal is gone. HP removal is gone. Composite is gone.
Yeah.
And that's it, right?
I'm sure we'll think wasn't there chaos damage and piercing?
That still exists.
I guess piercing.
Those are attack damage types. This is spell damage types.
Okay.
I think those were the 3 extra ones that we had. I might be missing one, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
we can start with the heroes for this subsection, I suppose. So acid
To
spray.
give you the short version, I guess.
Go ahead.
Can we just really quickly go through this, or do you want to?
No, that's fine.
Okay,
you can do
so the
whatever you
way
want.
composite worked was that the damage was half physical and half magical and reduced by both. So the way they've rebalanced composite abilities is that I think every single one of them is now physical, and then the damage values have been tweaked. So they're all reduced, but now they're only reduced by armor and also not magic resistance.
So for the most part,
Um,
they're almost equivalent to the old one. It's just to make
yeah,
things a little bit more clear. But there are some
yes,
exceptions to this, which I want to go over once we get to them. Did
yeah.
you want to go over anything in specific on this for
What else
heroes?
is there? Universal used to work in the way that it went through magic immunity, but dealt magic damage type, and now I think that's just. I think they've been changed to pure, and then ignoring magic spell immunity, right?
Right.
So the terminology change that's come in, it's in paragraph 5. Black King Bar, Repel, Rage, and all other forms of magic immunity now grant spell immunity status and a 100% magic resistance.
Right.
So you're resistant to spells, but pure damage type goes through if it is spell immunity piercing. So that's like Doom. That still goes through. And the last one's HP removal. That one's just gone. I think the HP removal abilities have been replaced with pure.
Yes. And that is
Um,
one thing I wanted to talk about. Did you want to go over any of these? Do you want to go over these heroes?
I think we'll get to them now if we just jump up again, because I think they're. Or no, that got separated. Never
No, they're
mind.
like all separated. So,
Yeah. Well, just take one at a time, I guess. The abilities this affects, you can
okay.
just blink through them basically.
Okay, so acid spray damage is now physical as we talked about, and the damage overall has been reduced to make sure that that is still balanced. But as a result, the armor reduction has been upped from the original skill as you guys read at the top, which actually, like, as far as balance goes, it's actually a little bit better overall
I
because
think
of
it's a
that.
buff overall.
Yeah.
This slightly at least.
Nightmare damage for Bane has changed from HP removal to pure. Okay. Beastmaster, basically the same kind of thing, composite to physical for his wild axes, and the damage has been reduced. I feel like that actually should have been upped. I mean, I don't feel like they're very good, but I don't know. That hero is so underwhelming for me. Brewmaster Primal Split. This is the pulverized for one of his Earth Spirit.
Such a random thing.
Yeah, it's. I don't remember how much damage this thing does anyway.
No.
It's a
It
passive, I
barely
think,
even
right?
hits half the time
Like
the
it's
Earth
not even
kind
something
anyway.
you notice in a fight. I don't think I've ever noticed it. Anyway, Doom, as you talked about, is pure with spell immunity, and as a result, the damage type or the damage numbers have been changed. Echo Slime had that weird kind of thing that went through magic. So this is a nerf actually. The initial damage from his Echo Slime will not go through magic immunity anymore. Midnight Pulse for Enigma is now pure and pierces spell immunity. It's basically the same, but with reduction of numbers to make it balanced. Lesh, if I'm not mistaken, is this a nerf? Let's see, Diabolic Edict changed to physical. Um, the damage is reduced. Where was I
Like
reading that this was
it's
maybe?
hard to talk about this just in isolation
Yeah, yeah,
raw as
that's
whether
true.
it's a buff or a nerf because
Yeah,
it depends on the armor of the hero, right? The fact that magic resistance isn't taken into account anymore for reduction means that this deals a hell of a lot of damage to heroes with low armor
hmm
compared to before because their magic resistance isn't going to protect them.
Plus, I think there's other changes to the hero in general too. So,
But no, let me see. Actually, maybe I'm just talking crap here. For base resistance and base armor, I think it's pretty much the same. Actually,
hmm.
never mind. Yeah,
so no nerf, no buff, pretty much the same.
not really. It's just to make it transparent, right?
Okay, Laguna Blade with Aghanim Scepter is actually this one's kind of interesting. It's from magical and pierces spell immunity to now pure. This I guess there's nothing new with that, but the actual Aghanim Scepter no longer increases the damage. Only the damage type is changed. So it's basically the same amount of damage done. It's just kind of reworked in
It
this
is
way.
exactly the same, and it only works with eggs.
Yeah.
So it's identical. This actually changes absolutely nothing.
Lone Druid Spiritberry now deals 10% max HP as pure damage. Okay, instead of composite, of course. Actually,
Actually, let me
that's
correct
a
that. The
he
Lena
takes
thing.
more damage then. If he took 400
Sorry.
composite damage versus 400 pure. Oh no, 10%. So it's just dependent on how much HP he has. Okay.
Just
Go ahead.
quickly to
Yeah.
reiterate on the Lena thing, I said something wrong. This is actually a buff because you can't build magic resistance against Lena eggs anymore. Previously, it would deal magic that pierced spell immunity, and now it deals pure that pierces spell immunity. So magic resistance doesn't help against Lena anymore. That's it. So this is the if you have 25% magic resistance, it's exactly the same. But if you had a hero with like a hood or a pipe or something,
Mm.
now you take more damage. So
Oh,
she's
okay.
better.
Okay. Bet you love that one. She has other changes as well.
Yeah.
Necrophos, Heartstopper Ore is now negative regeneration instead of HP removal. Okay. Techies don't give a crap about. Tinker, March of the Machines, damage type changed from magical to blah blah blah. That's fine. Okay, this is the one I want to talk about. Wave of Terror, now from HP removal to pure that pierces spell immunity. So tell me why you think this is an interesting change, because I have a theory, but I don't know if it's anything in actuality.
The only way this makes a difference is that it now breaks regeneration items.
Okay, I was gonna
Uh,
say it breaks blink daggers too, so I guess it's both.
yeah, that's true as well.
So the
Regeneration
question
items
is,
and
does it do that?
damage triggers.
Based on
Yeah,
this
it
text,
should,
I would think
because it's
so.
pure.
So this is
Yeah,
like a
it
pretty
should.
decent buff to Vengeful Spirit.
Yeah, I don't mind that either.
Yeah, I love her.
I don't know why you skip techies, by the way, but basically it's just composite to
Gives a
physical.
crap
So,
about this hero. Nobody wants to hear about him. Okay. Warlock Fatal Bonds now shares the same damage type that is dealt into it before it is reduced. Previous took the damage that was dealt, blah, 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 blah. What does this mean? Oh, I
there's a
see.
couple of old interactions with
Okay.
heroes where damage would be applied afterwards and recalculated to a different damage type, but it's fine. This is perfectly
It's fine. Icefrog did
Yeah.
fine, I swear. Fatal Bonds
Yeah,
damage percentage
good.
from 20 to 25%. And Flaming Fists will no longer pierce spell immunity. But he has other changes to him that kind of counteract that as well, which we'll discuss soon enough. Necronomicon, the guy that does pure damage. Wait.
When it dies, the
Oh,
blue
it
one.
so it deals. Oh, they changed it from pure to I thought they were just changing the parity stuff, or not the parity, but the old archaic system. So this is actually a pure to magical.
Yeah,
Okay.
this makes the
So what's the
Necronomicon.
difference?
If you have 25% magic resistance, you
Right.
take slightly higher damage on level 1 and level 2. On level 3, it's identical. And it means if you build more magic resistance, you take less damage from killing the Necronomicon. You have that, like a hood, a pipe, whatever. And I guess this also means that you can actually block a big part of the damage by activating your pipe, because that gives magic block shield. Pure went through before.
Okay.
Yeah,
And last but
I guess
not
that's it.
least, Urn of Shadows is now pure damage. So is this enough damage to cancel anything, like blink daggers or regeneration?
Oh, how much is it per tick? It's 150 over 8 seconds, right? And it deals damage every second, right?
I don't. Why are you even asking me? I don't know numbers.
I think it is.
I would be
So it's
shocked if
150.
this is enough
I
damage to
can't
do
use
that.
my keyboard. 150 divided by 8. So it's like 19 per tick. I think the threshold is 20, right? I don't think it breaks things now. I could be wrong. But
I'd be shocked because that'd be
I
a
think it's
huge
15.
change. That'd be a huge change. I did. My chat is telling me I skipped Tinker. I did not, because we're gonna be talking about him a ton.
Yeah.
This is obviously a big nerf. He has like 5 other huge nerfs, and he's pretty much trash now. But we'll discuss that soon enough, good sirs. Okay, going back up to the list. So anti-mage base strength has been increased by 2. Okay, axe counter helix now activates 20%
Pretty
of
good,
the time
actually.
versus 17, and culling blade no longer ignores Lincoln's sphere. So a buff and a nerf. What do you think?
Yeah, buff overall.
Yeah.
Lincoln's is a very situational item in the first place, and I like a little buff to counter helix. I think it's
Mm-hmm. Agreed. It's a fun hero to watch. I don't care if these heroes become become completely overpowered, because they're fun to watch, syndereN. I mean, that's all you want at the end of the day, right?
just like Tinker, right?
Is he fun to watch? Okay,
I don't know.
he can sometimes be fun to
It was
watch
a
by
joke,
like
and I
blowing
wanted to
people
hear your
up.
response.
But okay, anyway. Techies, not fun to watch. Bane, Aghanim Scepter Fiendscript now also causes anyone who attacks Bane while he is channeling to be afflicted with Nightmare. Very interesting. What do you think about? I mean, Aghanim Scepter is almost never going to be picked up on Bane, first and foremost. You can still cancel his. I guess if he has like a BKB, you can't really cancel it without. If he has BKB Lincolns, literally nothing you can do, right?
Yeah. I have this idea that you see with the nerf to the mid lane or the changes in mid lane, right? With more deny experience lost, easier access to runes. What if you start playing Bane as a solo mid and you get a BKB? So my biggest question is, does the Nightmare trigger when you're in BKB? Do the enemies get Nightmare? And I would expect them to do, right?
Yes, of course.
So if you go mid with Bane and you play him as a core position, you get BKB and Ags, you are insane in team fights. You grip someone and you cannot be stopped, right? Unless they have like a BKB
Right.
piercing or something. They can't attack you and kill you. It's kind of gimmicky. I don't know how good it is, but I'm thinking maybe a couple of teams will try it out because Bane is actually a complete lane dominator with Enfeeble. So maybe the new mid lane, it's interesting.
I
don't know.
enjoy watching a Bane mid. It's been a long time. You go Blink first. Even actually, I haven't even seen him with Blink lately since that change of no mana cost. So that would be fun to watch. Yeah, I'm up for that. And then we'll get sick of him after a month. So I don't know if we're actually hoping for that. But Bat Rider, Flaming Lasso, cooldown has
Light
been
nerf.
increased.
Good.
Okay, Beastmaster. Wait, I thought you said it was cool.
The Batrider?
No, that's the word we're using when we're not talking about stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Okay. Beastmaster, wild axes. We already talked about that. It's not physical. I like how they put these changes in this section. What the heck? So they just
Yeah,
picked and choose. Okay, whatever. Primal Roar, the side knockback radius has been increased by 50. The Primal Roar side damage is same as primary damage now. Okay, that's nice.
big deal.
That's at the first 2 levels, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the change, I should say. Primal Roar push distance is increased by 60, and the side push duration has been increased by 0.2. So this hero got a little bit of love. I don't know if this is
A lot
enough,
of
though.
love.
Do
This
you
is
really
a very good ultimate.
you think
now.
that? Okay, well, his ulti was always good, though. I don't feel like that's ever been his problem.
I
don't
want
know.
to do a little bit of math on the axes real quick
Please
because they
do.
did. Huh?
I said please do.
Yeah, the axes are way better too if we consider the magic resistance, right? I would think so. Just looking at these values on level 4, it's 160 instead of 180, but it's physical instead of composite, so magic resistance doesn't affect them anymore.
Okay.
So I actually think Beastmaster, out of all the composite to physical changes, he got the best deal.
Okay.
I think the axes are really compared to what they were. I could be wrong in the math, but I'm pretty sure this is
I'll believe
so.
you.
He got a lot of love, actually. I would love to see this hero come back as well. I think it's
Yeah,
really
I think
enjoyable.
he's. I mean, any hero that's like, I mean, he's a big time ganker. I mean, I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to see a hero like that. I mean, even Bane could be considered the same kind of deal. Just get a little bit of farm on them for mobility and whatnot. Basically, Blink Dagger, and yeah, they're fun to watch. Okay, Bloodseeker, huge changes to this monkey, so he was removed from Captain's mode as a result. He also lost
Bye-bye.
10 movement speed. So Blood Rage has been reworked. If you guys don't remember Blood Rage, it's the one that silenced you or an enemy, did a little
years.
bit of damage over time. Yeah, it's been in the game for a long time, so you should probably know what it does. The new Blood Rage does not silence anymore and does not do damage, but when applied to yourself or an enemy or an ally, any damage done to them will be amplified, and any damage that they do while it's afflicted with or while it's active on them, they will have amplified damage as well. Wait, does that include spells? Wait a second. Amplifies all damage taken. Holy crap! I just read that. I don't. It's literally in the first sentence. That's actually pretty. Put this on. What is it? 40%. What's 40% of Laguna Blade at the highest level with
Pretty
Aghanim
high.
Scepter? That's awesome.
Yeah. And you
Okay.
even get healed if you kill with it on.
Yeah, so it has
right?
like a
Yeah.
mini bloodbath in addition to this, right? So I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I have no idea if it's good. I mean, there's pretty much no way to know with these kind of things. But I mean, what are your thoughts on this skill?
It's did you mention that the cast point got halved as well, by the way?
No.
It's really fast to cast it now. 0.2. So it's pretty amazing, I think, honestly. There's a lot of it's more of a synergy thing. The problem about the old Blood Rage was that it seemed really hard to use properly, right? Did you even want to level it up because you gave the enemy more damage and the silence duration got increased by 1 per level?
Yep.
Now it seems a little more straightforward. You can do a lot of interesting combos with this. You can the fact that it works with spells for me is the bigger deal, and that it doesn't silence anymore. So you can cast it on allies and not silence them. Now it can actually be a buff overall. Yes, they take more damage, but at least they can use their spells, right? So could see some interesting interaction with some casting carries, maybe. Like casting carries technically don't really exist, but we could have some of the cores that use spell damage, like Queen of Pain, get a lot out of this stuff.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Sick damage, but it's not in CM, so we'll have to wait and see if this gets kept. But I can imagine some funny pub strats coming up from this, so I like it a lot.
So with a 6-second cooldown, how long does it last for? 12. You can put this on 2 people. Wait, this doesn't stack though, does it? That would be hilarious. Just put 2 on the same
Got it.
person. It can be dispelled now. So if your teammate that use it on, or yourself even use a BKB, I'm guessing that's what it means. It gets rid of it as well. So it's another change from the last patch for sure. Replaced Bloodbath, which is his 3rd skill, because it's kind of in this one now, with a new ability called Blood Right, which has one of the coolest. Have you seen it in game? It looks awesome.
I've seen a screenshot.
Yeah, so it targets an area, and the effect, or an effect that is visible to enemies, appears on the ground after. Oh, okay, that's why we couldn't see. Because I was testing it, and my teammate could not see it. I'm like, why can't you see this? It's only enemies that see it. After 3 seconds, enemies in the area are damaged and silenced. So 240 pure damage and silenced for 6 freaking seconds.
AoE silence.
Yeah, AoE silence. But they can see this enormous effect, and they have 3
It's
seconds to
still
run out.
1500 cast range. Do you know how big 600 AoE is?
Holy shit.
Freaking huge,
That
right?
is pretty big.
So if there's any sort of AoE combination with this, like off the top of my head, just Chronosphere, right? But
Yeah.
you can even think something along the lines of Fissure, Lina stun if you hit that very nicely or whatever. Like any good AoE stun, Ice Path, and you cast this on top of them, they won't have time to get out unless they have a blink. And that's a blink spell, not a blink effect, because they will have taken damage, right? So the item won't work. Or Force Staff. This spell, I think, is insane. I think this might actually be too good, but I'm holding my vote on it until I see it in play. But
He's not in captain's mode, so you don't have to worry about that.
1500 cast range.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
I think the Arrow of Mirana travels 2500, right? So it's like 2/3 of an arrow you can cast. This is a full screen. And 600 AoE is absolutely insane. So this is very, very good.
And additionally, other things were changed for this hero. I think we need to make a new hero preview for this guy. I mean, this is ridiculous. Thirst, visibility, and true sight are granted only when the target is at or below 38% HP. Thirst now shows a debuff and visible effect to the enemies when they are revealed. Thirst, movement speed, and damage bonuses are now proportional to how low the enemy's health is. Okay, that's cool. And Thirst, movement speed, and bonus damage increase from 35 to 40 at the highest level. So Rupture...
First level.
Rupture no longer deals initial damage. How much did it deal? It was like 200 or something?
150 plus 100 per level, I think.
Okay. This is crazy, by the way. 12 seconds at all levels. That seems like a long time to me.
Yeah, just remember TP scroll, as always.
That's true. Yeah, that is
that
true.
weakness.
It's too bad Force Staff doesn't... that needs to be changed, you know, just for Bloodseeker. I guess that's true. That's still his biggest counter. Poor guy.
It's fine. He needs to have that weakness. It's fine. It's kind of how the hero is supposed to work.
It's tradition at this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This Rupture is... I'm not sure, you know, it's situational whether it's better or worse. I would say overall, mainly on level 1, I think it's better. Like, those extra 5 seconds is a big deal. And the initial damage on level 1 wasn't that good. But I actually think it's weaker on level 3.
Rupture is?
Because usually when you got Ruptured on the level 3, it was the burst damage from the start that actually mattered. And you would stand still, because you can't run with a level 3 Rupture on you.
Right, well at least you get a free silence out of it now with or Blood Right. If they're going to stand still,
that's good synergy between those. Yeah, that's a good point, how you can combine those. So
either way,
either you stand and take pure damage and get silence, or you run and take pure damage.
Or you just TP out and you're good to go.
Or you
okay.
TP. That's good.
Bounty Hunter, Shuriken Toss now bounces to all tracked units within 900 range. This sounds so cool. I don't know how good it actually is.
Extremely situational. But
you think it's really situational? You have two, even if it's just 2 people tracked in a team fight.
It's a cool buff.
Bounty Hunter in a team fight's not very good, you know? He tries to pick people off, and then I feel like he's not the worst hero now in a team fight.
The thing I want to know is, how does it bounce? So let's say you're tracked and your ally is tracked behind you. The 900 range, is that from the first track target you hit, or from where bounty is?
I have no idea. I would think it's from the unit that you're hitting.
So it's from impact. Because then it really matters, right? Because Shuriken Toss has a mini stun.
Yeah.
And it still does, right? So if you can see a target behind him starting to channel something, you can stop that. If they're TPing out, you have a sick range, like, in theory, like 1500 range or something, TP interrupt with this, if it bounces from the first one to the guy at the back. And
yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like, there's no doubt. Obviously, it's strictly a buff. The reason I'm calling it situational is that I feel like, yes, there's quite a few fights where you have, like, 2 tracks, but this thing you're picturing in your mind with the amazing 5-man track Shuriken Toss that just bounces through all of them, that very rarely happens. But still, it's cool.
I like it. It's probably useless as a result. Brewmaster, Drunken Brawler's critical evasion timer has been increased a bit. Okay. Broodmother.
Nice.
This, not to fuel the fire, but Valve definitely reads Reddit, is all I have to say with this, because all of this stuff was on Reddit, like suggestions.
This is such a good suggestion.
It is. They are. You know, I'm not saying they're bad, by all means. So spin web. I mean, the problem with this here is that you're kind of confined to a single lane. All these changes here allow you to kind of move around a bit. So spin web now has charges with 40-second replenish time, a 30-second cooldown overall. Spin web time to enter hidden mode after taking damage increased by 3 seconds. Okay. The web movement speed is doubled whenever Broodmother is hidden. How fast does this make her? Is she like max move speed?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
pretty,
522 with a level 4 web at least, for sure.
With web phasing and speed bonuses now work on so you don't get blocked by your own spiraling. So this actually affects fails of the week quite a lot. That's truly unfortunate. Spin webs are now selectable and have an ability to destroy themselves. So that's another thing that people... So if you kept putting webs, the oldest one would be replaced, and people were kind of annoyed with that. And now you can actually destroy them at will. Spin web can now be cast from anywhere on the map as long as a new web touches another. So let's say you have a web at tier 1 top for some reason, and the rest of your webs are bottom lane. You can create like a bunch of webs at top lane because fuck it, bottom lane sucks. They countered me. Let's just go top lane, create a bunch of webs at the same time, TP there. And I think this last one just means she can't get stuck in the trees when she's visible. Is that what that means? I don't know what the problems
Yeah.
with Broodmother. Okay.
That was a getting stuck problem.
Okay. What do you think about
I don't
Broodmother?
know. Did you mention that they're selectable and can be destroyed?
Yes.
Because that's relevant too.
Yes.
You can choose which ones you want to get rid of. Yeah, okay.
For quite a
Right,
while, I
yeah.
talked about that actually. Yeah.
Brood is still not in CM though.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You're lying.
I don't know if this makes this. I mean, Broodmother's one of the heroes people just can't stand watching. So this remedies that to some degree. I mean, how are you excited at all about these changes, or you just hate this hero?
Yes, it's trying to make Brood more of a fighter instead of just. Or technically, it also makes it a better split pusher. But the main issue Brood had before was that, let's say you're split pushing top lane. You've built a house in the top lane. And then you're gonna go bottom. Your team wants to push bottom because why would they push top? Brood already took 2 towers.
Right.
When you want to push high ground with Brood, your spiderlings are starting to get really shit, let's be honest. Everyone else has high-level spells and they just clean them out, very easily get golden experience. So you can't really do that anymore. So you want to join your team, but then when you join your team, you put down one shitty web, the fight moves 1,000 range, and you're garbage.
Yeah.
So now you can actually fight better. And Brood's ultimate also got buffed in the previous version, and she's really fast in the webs now too, so I think there's some more potential for Brood to actually start winning games. It's pretty much.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, it's fine. It had abysmal win rate, and it was.
It's like bottom 5, I think.
Yeah. Pretty meh.
Okay, moving on.
But now
Centaur
it's good.
Warrunner, Stampede mana cost now has been increased. Fuck you, Chaos Knight. That means fuck you, Valve. No offense, of course, but Centaur's the best hero in the game. Why would you nerf such a great hero? Huh? Unacceptable. Chaos Knight, I know you're gonna love this change. Phantasm, which is his ultimate illusion duration, increased by 10 seconds, which is actually pretty gigantic.
Yeah. I suggested, when I saw this, I suggested to change it to being a random number between 24 and 34 for all the illusions.
Yeah,
because everything else
yeah.
about the hero is random, so why
That's
wouldn't you
true.
give it a random duration?
That's a good point. That's a good.
But it's a really good nerf, yeah, really good buff. It's the main problem for Chaos Knight is that when he uses Phantasm in a team fight, he doesn't have them for pushing towers afterwards. The duration of a team fight generally, it's around those 20 seconds maybe. So now you can actually siege, and you can siege 2 towers in succession, which is also important. It's also way better on level 1 now, where it used to be underwhelming. It got a lot better with the chance of getting an extra illusion, but now I would say it's pretty much a must pick on level 6 almost, which is good, right? You want ultimates to be ultimates.
Yep, and actually
And
there's another hero
very
with a
few
similar
heroes don't
change
do
in this patch, which we'll go over as well. But this is a hero in Chaos Knight that I know that you defended him valiantly, syndereN, but there are a lot of people at the NA hub saying this is literally, with Spiritbreaker, the 2 worst heroes in the game. And you were
Situational,
having
but
none
in
of
those
that.
situations he is insane. You just need to see the
I mean, his
ultimate.
ultimate is pretty ridiculous. I mean, now even
He is
more so.
completely crazy if there isn't much AoE damage, but the metagame drafted a lot of AoE damage around that point, so Chaos Knight rarely saw play. And when there is an opportunity to pick him, pro teams will often just forget about him, right? You need to have the presence of mind to realize, wow, this is a Chaos Knight game, and that happens very rarely. But when it is, he is pretty insane.
Chen got some love in this patch. Penitence duration has been rebalanced a bit to be
Better on level 4.
worse at the earlier levels, actually. But Penitence slow and damage amplification rebalanced a bit. Better at the earlier levels, because nobody picks up like a level of that. Did he even like level this at all?
Yeah, after the other spells were maxed.
Okay. Because I was under the impression they literally just got stats after a certain point. I always thought Penitence was pretty underrated, though. The amplified damage is really good. Now amplifies source damage directly instead of attempting to redeal a percentage of the damage taken as... What does this mean?
It's like the Warlock thing with Fatal Bonds,
Oh,
I think.
okay.
It's an old leftover. So if you deal magic damage, they take extra magic damage instead of taking it as physical. So that makes a difference, because I guess if I'm reading this correctly, the old Penitence took armor into account for the bonus damage. Now it takes the type of damage you take into account. So if you deal pure, you deal extra pure instead of extra physical, right? That has to be the way this is supposed to be understood.
In
So it's better.
addition, Penitent's cast range has been increased by 200. Holy Persuade. Okay, first of all, with these changes to Penitence, do you think Chen's will level this now? Like in the earlier, like one level of it. Like this is a pretty decent
Uh,
value point, 14.
yeah, the first
You know.
point is actually pretty damn good with the cast range increase and everything. And 14% amp is good. You need to consider it worth. You Let's see, how is it? It's the Test of Faith that has the send back and not Penitence now. The
Right.
secondary ability is on Test of Faith. So you will pretty much always max Persuasion. So if you choose Penitence over Test of Faith, it's at the cost of send back time and of the burst. It's pretty easy to deal more damage than the Test of Faith would have done with just 1 point in Penitence and some ally backing you up. So damage-wise, it's good. So if you think that's better than the send back, I would say it's worth leveling up. But remember the mana cost, right?
Yeah.
You have extra.
Holy
Maybe.
Persuasion is no longer restricted from targeting spell-immune neutral creeps, which means mud golems. And with
How
Aghanim
useless
Scepter,
are mud golems, though?
okay, I actually have a suggestion for that. But Aghanim Scepter now allows Holy Persuasion to take over ancient creeps, 1 per level of Hand of God. So at level 3, you can have 3 ancients. I'm not sure about the damage types that they have and how good they would be. I know that the dragons do like splash damage.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them do like siege damage to towers or anything. I don't think there's anything crazy like that. But they
Which ones
they
are
have a ton of
telling you? The
HP.
big dragon, the granite golems, and
Isn't there one in each camp? Each ancient?
what's the third camp? Well, I can't remember the third camp.
Isn't it not the rhinos, the triceratops?
Yeah, exactly yes, we're talking about that. That one is actually interesting. They also have magic immunity. I think at least the big one does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that one has
Believe
some
so.
sort of frenzy and stuff. That actually has active abilities, which the dragon and the granite golem don't.
Oh, that's true. Okay, forgot about
That's
that.
pretty interesting to see. Thunder lizard, that's what they're called. Thank you.
Thunder lizard. Okay, I have a suggestion here.
The dino.
Mud golems, syndereN.
Yeah.
What if they got? I mean, this makes sense. What if they got the passive that the Wild Wing Rippers have, which is extra armor, and then give? I mean, I feel like that's super random for the Wild Wing Rippers anyway. Give them something else. Then this creep doesn't suck balls to take over for Chen. I mean, right now it's just the body.
What do you want
right?
to give the Wild Wing then?
I don't know. But just think of something later, okay? Give them nothing because they already have a cool ability, and give the Mud Golem some love. Like, why not? All
I
right.
think they're kind
So
of
you agree
imbalanced
with
if
me.
they
Good
have
to hear.
armor,
Okay,
aura, and
moving.
magic immunity. It's pretty sick.
Whatever. They're just okay. Whatever. That's true. I forgot about that. I guess. Clinkz Searing Arrows is no longer an attack modifier. Holy Jesus! I know Scotty works with Searing Arrows. The first thing that comes to my mind is Deso, because you deal so much
lifesteal.
physical damage to towers with your Searing Arrows, and lifesteal. Damn, that's so true.
Because Searing Arrow's damage type is physical, right? So they should also apply your lifesteal now.
Mm-hmm.
Since
I
it's
would
not
think
an
so.
attack modifier at all, you drain life based on damage inflicted, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I believe, yeah, that this would also include lifesteal. So if you get like Satanic on Clinkz, you're insanely strong.
Yeah. Now, you
but-
still go Orchid, but do you go
Yeah.
like I believe
I
that
would still-
crit is what people usually get after Orchid, right?
Yes.
If not a BKB or something like that.
Or BKB, yeah.
But would you go
Generally,
Deso
Orchid,
instead of
BKB crit.
would you go Deso instead of crit now?
It's really good because it amplifies your other attacks. What people would do with Deso beforehand was that they would turn off Searing Arrows for one attack, then hit with Deso, and then turn them on. And I think they overrode the other one. At least they didn't Dota 1.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think I've seen that in. Actually, I never saw that.
no,
Ever.
no one, almost never. That's almost never done. I still think the main interesting thing about its lifesteal. You can also pick up something like Diffusal to counter out Ghost Scepter, which Clinkz kind of has to do in many pro games anyway, and now you still get the Diffusal effect. So that's also a buff to the Diffusal. It's interesting. Overall. A lot of innate attack modifiers are being removed. What else do we have? Fury Swipes is no longer.
Oh, you mean in
there
past
was one more.
patches, right?
Trying to remember, there was one more recently. Or maybe it's in this patch, actually, later on. I could be wrong.
I don't remember.
They're starting to remove these so items are the attack modifiers. I guess it's okay.
Clockwork Hookshot now pulls
Yes!
Clockwork to neutral creep. So if you miss horribly and hit a neutral creep, you will actually be pulled to them. So that's good to see.
Or if you hit properly and you wanted to jump
If
to
you want to
neutral,
get
you
away,
actually
yeah.
can.
This
This gives Clockwork a lot of escape
Yeah, a lot.
potential.
Especially with
Especially
Ags.
with Ags. Ah, I said it
Jinx!
first.
You owe me a Coke! Ha
I
ha!
said it first.
Crystal Maiden, frostbite damage interval from 70 per 1 second to 50 per 0.5 seconds. So, wait, is that an increase in damage overall then? 300 damage, still
See,
lasts
the
10
old
seconds on
frostbite on
neutrals.
level 1 dealt 140, now it deals 150.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the old frostbite was kind of stupid in the sense that I think it was on level 1 and 2 it dealt the same damage because of the way the damage was triggered, or it was on level 2 and 3. It was like 1 or 2 overlaps, and the reason I can't remember is that it was different in Dota 1 and in Dota 2 because the way the damage was dealt was changed. But at least 2 of the levels it dealt the same damage on, but just got half a second duration, so it was pretty shit.
Mm.
Now it scales in damage on every level, and I believe it's better on level 1 and 2. Especially, I think on level 2 it's way better, unless that was the one with 210 and then level 3 was 210, whatever. It's better overall, I want to say, and Freezing Field gets buffed once again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Biggest change of the
I don't
patch,
know.
though, is the upcoming one. Darkseer Vacuum has been rescaled from 28.0 seconds to just a flat 28. What do you think about that, syndereN?
I think you should mark it with your cursor.
I already did.
Okay, good.
You know, I saw some people thinking they had theories that this is actually Pit Lord's ultimate Dark Rift. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
What?
Like, this is the shape that Dark Rift makes, so he's the next hero in Dota 2, guys.
No.
Or, I'm sorry, Abyssal Underlord is now what he's called.
I think this is a good change.
Yeah, of course.
Next.
Perfect. Dazzle Agnum Scepter wave armor reduction per second has been increased. Okay, getting some love. Death Prophet Exorcism cooldown increased by 20 seconds. This is here that's picked constantly. Everybody was crying for a nerf. Do you think this is a good enough nerf? I mean, I guess there's a lot of indirect nerfs with towers and whatnot, so you have to take that into consideration
this
as well.
hero already got nerfed quite a bit, I think, by the way the game works. So it didn't need a bigger nerf than this. I think it's okay. I guess the main concern before was the reset time you had between being able to push a tower and pushing the next one, and that's exactly what this addresses.
How long?
So.
Sorry, how long do the ghosts last when you activate? You're gonna have to look it up, big boy.
Yeah, I'm looking.
I've asked the question.
Remember.
We've got to know the answer now. We're just gonna wait for
Go,
guys.
Death Prophet, Exorcism, 30 seconds. Damn, that was actually gonna be my guess, but yeah, 30. So it's down for instead of 85, it's now down for 105.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty big. I mean, this hero is garbage when you don't have her ultimate, and
Pretty bad, yeah.
I guess you could say that about a lot of heroes, but either way. Doom now requires Agnum Scepter to disable passive. This is an enormous change, and the ability cast point has been increased to 0.5. So it takes longer to cast, right? And so disabling passives such as Backtrack, what are some important? Bristleback's passive.
Evasion from PA.
Wait, that doesn't count items, so just passes from skills. Yeah, PA is not useless anymore. That's true. Lifesteal for like Wraith King or something.
Heaven's Halberd,
blah,
Heaven's
blah,
Halberd
blah.
evasion, Butterfly evasion, critical strikes.
Well, no, not Butterfly Evasion, because this is. Wait, that's what I'm
I
wondering.
don't know
Is
what
this?
they mean by passives. If it's no, it still mutes the inventory, right? It must.
The way I read this, I think it's still.
Yeah, you're right. It's
still
only
silences
hero
items.
passives. Yes.
But
Yeah,
still, that's
correct.
still
Never mind.
quite a big change. I feel that's a big nerf.
Also, Lifestealer's Feast is a really interesting one.
That's very true. Yeah.
So there's a lot of heroes. Corrosive Skin. This is a long list, but I think that's a good change overall. And I really like the second one. It's something I wanted because I feel like the time it takes for Doom to blink Doom someone was too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a chance at reacting if you see him for whatever reason or if he's coming close. This extra 0.2 is a really big difference. How often do you see yourself almost clicking Force Staff or almost clicking Blink and then you get doomed?
I think
like
I'm dead before I even realize
of
I'm
a
doomed.
second
But I'm in a lower MMR
is
bracket, so. Anyway. Drow Ranger, Frost Arrows slow increased at the first 3 levels. This is a hero that I feel like it's picked a decent amount. I guess the Frost Arrows were pretty
least
garbage.
favorite heroes in the game,
early.
to be honest.
You don't like her?
I really don't like it.
Why is that?
One-dimensional. I honestly feel like it's pretty boring.
I could see that, yeah.
But yeah,
Has some ridiculous combos, all range with visage birds
Scaling
and
before
stuff.
was just random. that's another thing we've noticed over the last couple of patches we've analyzed, is that scaling becomes more linear instead of these weird jumps with like plus 13, plus 13, plus 23. I mean, why? Why not just
Because they were on
linear
crack
scale?
when that happened. So
Yeah. So, and they came down to Earth again. They had a good trip, and then they fixed.
speaking of Earth, we have Earth Spirit adding Aghanim Sept. This is one of the coolest. I'm trying to think of something more unique in the game for an Aghanims than this. Correct? It just
I'm glad Earth Spirit gets an upgrade. I think this hero really needed a buff and was totally weak.
obvious sarcasm,
Damn it.
obvious. Grants Earth Spirit a new ability, Enchant Remnant, which lets him temporarily convert a hero into a stone remnant, meaning first they're invulnerable for what is it, 3 seconds or whatever. Wait, is it 3 seconds? Uh, yeah, 3 seconds. You can push them, you can pull them, you can kick them all the way across, or not all the way
Yeah.
across the map, but
It turns them into a stone, right?
yeah, it
It's
turns
just
them
like
literally into a remnant, and then after 3 seconds they explode. Well, the God, I'm doing such a good job of explaining it. It explodes for 300 damage and a 300 radius. I feel like there's so many cool things you could do with this, but you don't seem to be a big fan of this mechanic, syndereN. It
no,
sounds
I
really cool.
actually like this is one of the things that I didn't. I want to kind of hold my judgment on how good this is because I feel like it looks really cool and the concept is really fun. So I love the idea. It's just one of those things that is really hard to predict how good is, and you just need to see in play. But I love the idea. I think one thing I want to add. I think it says you deal 300 damage in a radius when it explodes. I don't think the enemy itself takes that damage if he's the remnant. But it's a
Yeah, it
guess.
doesn't
I'm not
really
sure.
say, does it? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the important thing overall is yes, Aghanim Scepter got implemented for the hero, but he got nerfed in other regards, which is really important. So now we could say the Aghanim Scepter is amazing and really cool, but overall the hero itself got weaker, which
Okay.
is
I barely
really,
even
really
know what his
important for
abilities
me.
do, so you just go over changes that you think are important for him.
So this hero is really special in the public scene in Dota 2 because he's not in CM. I kind of put Earth Spirit and Meepo in the same group, which is heroes that are really hard to master, and when you master them, they're insane. And if you don't play them decently, they're pretty shit. So the reason Earth Spirit has a really low win rate is that the average public player will not have the sufficient skill or the sufficient like insight into how to play the hero. And it is a really mechanically intense hero. But when you see some of the really good players play this hero, you will see why it's completely insane. And I think a lot of high-ranked pub players and pro players have complained about how this hero just ruins games sometimes. And I feel like Meepo is kind of like that in pubs, but not necessarily. It's not as bad as Earth Spirit. No.
Right.
So
Okay.
Geomagnetic Grip has
Oh, yeah,
been
yeah.
rescaled.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, we should start
Which
with Boulder
one?
Smash.
Okay. Yet I know what the abilities are. I don't remember the names though at all. So just remind me.
Which one? Sorry.
All of them.
Okay, so Boulder Smash is the kick.
Okay.
Geomagnetic Grip is the pull.
That's the reverse
Rolling
force staff.
Boulder
Okay.
is the one where you roll yourself, and the ultimate is called Magnetize.
Okay.
Okay. So Boulder Smash only selects units when you target it now. Unit targeting now only selects units. Okay, so you can point target or unit target. If you unit target it, you don't kick a stone ever. And if you point target, you kick a remnant. Okay, I guess that's interesting. It's just a way of making it less mistakes, basically, where you kick a hero instead of a boulder and the other
Oh, okay.
or instead of a
So that
stone.
makes it a little bit easier to play then.
Yeah. Geomagnetic Pull, massive nerf. I think this was fundamentally for me the most broken ability in the hero hand. So it's
Agreed.
worse on level 3 and 4, and it's better on level 1, which I think is okay. That's all right. The damage is nerfed on all levels apart level 4, which is a little bit better. That's also okay. And then the speed of pulling an ally has been reduced by almost 50%. And that's where it's crazy, because there's no other mechanic like this in the game. And that's not to say that's a bad thing that you can pull an ally, but the speed it did it with and the distance was insane. So now at least one of the things got it. Drop range decreased on stone remnants. Being unable to travel as a projectile through Chronosphere. Now they can. Looks like, yeah. Fixed them not appearing in Fog of War. I read earlier today that's not fixed, but it probably will be. And Magnetize got buffed a little.
I actually saw one of these on Reddit, the Chronosphere thing. You can, if you have Ags, turn Void into a stone and kick him out of his own Chronosphere.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I saw
awesome. So the one thing I will mention that I do like about this hero, I know that they're adding Aghanims for everybody, and they're trying to make it like, okay, you can play this here in a different way. I feel like Aghanims is actually legitimate purchase on Earth Spirit. Like he's kind of a utility here. You go for stat items a lot of time, like mech, drums, things like that. I feel like this is a legitimate thing to buy. It's not one of those things like, oh, 0.1% of the games you're going to be getting an Aghanim Scepter on this hero kind of thing, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's kind of the reason I think the Ag Scepter upgrade is amazing on this hero. If you look at the way Earth Spirit is designed, every ability basically has like two uses, right? So it's very in each situation you can do something new. You can pull a stone to silence, or you can pull an ally out of the fight. You can kick a stone to stun, or you can kick an enemy or an ally out of the fight. Rolling Boulder kind of only has one use, but you can amplify it with your roll thing, and then Magnetize can be reset with a stone, right? So you can do different things. And I look at the Ag Scepter the same way. You can cast it on an enemy to freeze him in place and kick him out of the fight, or if you have an ally who is initiated upon, it's like Disruption from Shadow Demon. You basically buy him 3 seconds. You can choose if you want to keep him there or kick him out, or if you want to roll over him and do
We've
a
been
taunt
seeing
or
a lot
something.
more like Tusk Snowball and
Yeah,
another thing that we'll talk about in this patch, similar thing to that.
there's more counterplay potential,
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
I
cool.
think I'm tempted to say this is better on allies than on enemies.
Well, depends on the situation, I guess, but
Imagine this: you turn Enigma into stone, then you kick him into the fight, then he explodes, and then you black.
that's
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's hey, you guys do that, send it into top plays. We need it. Earthshaker. You done with Earth Spirit, by the way?
yeah, it's good.
Alright, Earthshaker, Fissure no longer has unit targeting, and Fissure no longer blocked by Lincoln Sphere. Okay, like why did it I don't know why it ever did that to begin with, to be honest. It's so huge, you don't feel like it doesn't need to have unit targeting, and as a
Yeah,
result, uh Lincoln Sphere shouldn't block it.
yeah,
So
this is fine. I don't feel like there's much reason to go into this more. It just makes sense, like you said. Intuitively, it's good this way.
alright, Elder Titan. We'll get so Ag's upgrade causes units that are pulled in by Earth Splitter to be disarmed in addition to being slowed. So disarm mechanic there, pretty cool. The slow and disarm duration has been increased by a second at all levels. So this is another hero I feel like potentially could, maybe not to the same degree as Earth Spirit, but a hero that I think could pick up Aghanim, so that's something to maybe look out for. Natural Order, although armor reduction has been increased. Okay, why is this hero getting? I feel like this is like the best aura in the game, and it just got buffed.
Yeah.
It's so
Um,
good. This is what literally the reason, in my opinion at least, this hero is very good.
yeah.
I'm not sure how much he's picked though, so that
It's
might have
still the
something to do
same on level 4 though, so it's just a little bit better early on, which gives you better laning. You can harass a little bit more with your spirit in lane. You're a little more useful in ganks. I think this is a way of addressing the problem that Elder Titan beforehand kind of needed to get a lot of levels before he was somewhat useful, right? Pros would skill 0-4-4-0 most of the time. Sometimes you get like 1 point Echo Stomp or 1 point your ultimate or whatever, but he needed a lot of time before he really felt very useful. And now that the ability scale like this, he's not better in the end, but he's better along the way where he seemed kind of weak. So
it.
I'm in favor of this. I think it's fine. And you're right. It's natural order is definitely one of the biggest perks of the hero, but once again, it's still the same on the
What do
high
you think
level.
about the
So
Ags?
I think it's cool. It's a nice idea.
I mean,
Once again,
it's a difficult ult to land consistently, but if you do,
yeah,
it's already pretty devastating. I think the slow in particular, um, and yeah,
and it's
there's not a
just
lot of
it's just
disarm in the game, so that's cool.
just cool overall to see the direction Aghanim Scepter changes are taking. So it used to be like you remember the good old Ags were just like more damage or more range or
Yeah,
less cooldown, standard things. And now every single Ags upgrade gives some sort of different functionality or some sort of new cool stuff so that they're not all streamlined. I like this a lot because it makes Aghanim Scepter a really cool choice. It's not just boring upgrades, so to speak. They're all cool in one way or the other. Um, the recent one that comes to mind was Lina and Lion used to have pretty similar Ags upgrades, just like more damage and more range or whatever. And now Lion has AoE and Lina's is BKB piercing, right? So
yep.
it's all being taken in different directions. That's cool. But it's still a situational ultimate. I think this is a hero that's usually played as utility, so I think we will see this picked up, but I'm still guessing like disarm does not go through BKB, so you can still counteract it as carries. But in a
Oh,
mid-game
don't you
scenario or when
worry,
the
syndereN. Don't you
huh?
worry about BKB, okay? Don't you worry
Yeah,
about
we'll
them.
get there.
People who buy PKBs are gonna be so angry, and I'm not one of them because you've seen me play. I refuse to buy BKB. It's not fun. I just want to do cool things. Okay,
You should make a team with Eternal Envy.
that's true. Except, yeah, that's That's true. He's definitely my mirror in that regard. Enchantress base movement speed has been increased. Okay, cool. Enigma Midnight Pulse cooldown increased by 10. The black hole max damage rebalanced a bit. I guess it's okay. Black hole max damage area of effect increased by 50. The minimum damage rebalanced. So the minimum meaning the farther out you are, maximum meaning the farther in you are to the actual black hole. Black hole minimum damage area of effect reduced by 100. Why is he even getting all these changes anyway? Is he what's his current status in competitive since I've been out of the loop?
He is. He gets picked a lot when you can get away with running a greedy jungler. He's pretty much always the choice. But now with especially Chen getting buffed and Enigma getting nerfed a bit, let's see. Or is this a nerf overall? Let's see. Max damage is lower, but area is increased. Minimum damage is rebalanced, and minimum area is reduced. So it's a little more. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this deals more damage towards, or it's more focused towards the center and less towards the edges, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nerf overall because if you catch people in the middle of it, that almost never happens, right? You usually catch people on the edge and maybe one in the middle. So
I feel like the
I would just
damage
consider
isn't
this a
even an
nerf
important
overall.
part of this. If this spell did 0 damage, people would still love it. I mean, am I wrong?
If what? Sorry.
If Black Hole did 0 damage, it would still be an
Yeah.
amazing ultimate.
Yes.
So I feel
You
like
don't
this
really
is
consider
negligible.
the damage a big part of it, but it's still, of course, it matters, right? Everything adds up. Uh, so, the one thing I'm not really sure about is the mana cost rescaling. I think everything else makes a lot of sense, but it's weird that it's more expensive on level 1 and less expensive on level 3. I guess it's mainly because a lot of pros didn't level it up after level 1
Yeah.
because you only got damage and that wasn't the main purpose of it anyway. And now maybe it's worth the upgrade cost since it's lesser. But if
I feel
that's
like
what you
that's
wanted, you
not
could have
enough.
also reduced the mana cost on higher levels, right?
Yeah. Well, they did at the 3rd level, but barely.
Only on level 3 and
Yeah.
very little. So.
All right, Faceless Void has been played a ton. Chronosphere area of effect reduced by 25. The Chronosphere flying vision area reduced by a ton. Chronosphere no longer disables passive, so I guess that's similar in some regards to Doom. And Chronosphere effect no longer lingers for an extra 0.5 seconds. So some of these are actual bugs that, again, were made clear on Reddit.
Only the last one, right?
I thought that the... Wait, I thought there was a second thing to go along with this. Yeah, you're
There
right.
was, but that isn't in here.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. That's the only
I
one.
think they want to remove that. So the thing we're talking about is in Dota 1, Chronosphere used to have an expansion time of 0.1 seconds. So when Void started casting it, the Chronosphere would form from the middle outwards in a tenth of a second. So if you were on the edge, you could maybe move that little extra distance or maybe force staff or
It's
whatever to
kind
get
of
out
like
of it.
it's kind of like Tide Ravage, but faster, right?
Yes, and the way Chrono works in Dota 2 is that the moment the cast point is over, everything gets frozen all over the place in the Chrono. So that extra tenth second is, of course, a big deal, but the half second is obviously way more important. And that was, I seem to recall it had something to do with a dummy unit being placed, and that one got frozen, but then the actual hero did not get unfrozen as early as the dummy unit. So the hero effectively got stunned for an extra half second on all levels. Insane when you think about it. How big a buff isn't that? So it's good. It's mainly a bug fix. The flying vision is fine. Void got so much intel of what was happening when you used the chrono before. Now you have to kind of be in the area to see it, and the AoE of it is also reduced.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he didn't get nerfed into the ground though, because a lot of people have been complaining a lot. And
I like watching him. I don't like. What do you
I
think?
don't like. Yeah, I feel like it's a pretty entertaining hero to watch. He got a lot of love, and especially this bug was a big deal. But he makes some really cool plays and some really exciting fights. It's just that in pubs, people get bored of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, that's true.
And now that the bug is fixed and that he's nerfed and other heroes are buffed, I think he's in a good place. I'm happy he didn't get nerfed into the ground, because it's boring when that happens and the heroes just completely disappear.
I think he's my favorite combo creator. Like, you can do so many cool combos with this guy, and that's the main reason it's entertaining for me. And the fact that you
Yeah.
don't have to play him as a hard carry anymore. I thought that was always boring. You just play him off lane. I think it's been like one of the best changes for me personally, as far as the spectator is concerned. Homing missile for Gyro has been buffed again. It's been like the 3rd time in a row. Nobody picks this up still. I think, honestly, okay, I don't think you're gonna pick up like these skills after or before your other ones, but people still get stats over this, and I'm not sure why. Like level 4 homing missile does 500. That's like a Alina. How much does like her level 1 ult do? This is more than Lina level 1 ult, right?
Isn't that? Oh, I can't
You
remember the
should
number.
know.
I
That's
think
your
it's
favorite
450,
hero.
right? It's not. Why do you keep saying that's my favorite hero?
Because it is. But either way,
I
I mean,
think it's
this
450,
500
right? Yeah,
damage
it
is a
is.
lot for something that you're almost guaranteed to hit them with now because it takes so many hits, especially in a 1v1 situation. I already know what your answer is, but you might as well tell everybody else. What do you think about this change and the skill overall?
This is the max damage, so this is if it travels far.
Right.
If it doesn't travel far, it doesn't deal so
That's
much
true.
damage.
Yeah.
But the main thing about homing missile is if you're playing a support gyro, which is very unusual in the competitive scene, then I think homing missile is really great. If you're playing a core, you need to remember you're leveling this over stats, which gives you more tank abilities. You can be in the middle of the fight and deal more damage, especially when you have a BKB. And gyro wants to get in close, right? You've got short attack range, at least on your first target, then flat cannon can extend it a lot, but you want to get in for a rocket barrage, you want to get a good cooldown, and then run into the fight. And if you don't have those extra point in stats, you're a lot more fragile. It's, let's say you take 4 points in stats instead of 4 in homing missile, then that's 8 strength. That's about 100, what's that, 152 health, right? That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you get more attack speed from the agility, you get more damage on all your flat cannon shots on all the targets, and you get more mana to use your spells. So, like, I still think this ability is underappreciated, but my opinion is still, you should definitely get 1 point in most cases. I don't like when pros completely skip it, because I feel like 1 point, just the stun and the functionality is worth more than the 2 all attributes, but beyond that, as a carry gyro, I still just feel like stats will be better in most cases.
So this is my feeling on the whole situation. So, and I've said this from the beginning, homing missile as a skill, it's decent. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just somewhere in the middle. On gyrocopter, it just doesn't make any sense. Why is this one of his skills? It makes absolutely no sense at all. You know. But if you look at it, it's because his other 3 skills are so ridiculously good. Like his ult, I would say, is even less under. It's more. His ult is his second worst skill, and it's not even bad. It's a spam. Like if it wasn't so spammable, it would be not that great, honestly. But it's decently spammable. This is by far his worst skill. Does that make sense? Like by comparison, it's pretty bad. But in general, it's not. It's like they gave him 3 really good skills and then 1 shittier one to kind of even it out. I mean, this technically,
it's more about just how it fits the rest of the.
This skill would make more sense on like another hero, maybe. You know,
yeah.
It's one of those
maybe
type
then
of
it would
abilities.
be too good on that hero.
Yeah, probably.
So
Yeah.
it's, I don't know. I feel like it's fine. It's good that you have the choice, and it's cool that you can, like, if you want to, you can level it up. It allows the hero to go in different directions. Just from a competitive point of view, the games where you pick gyro most of the time, homing missile just isn't that attractive. That doesn't make it a bad skill for pubs. And if you play gyro solo mid, a level 4 homing missile is insanely good.
I'd like to personally see that.
Pretty powerful, but
We should try that in our A to Z dual lane challenge. Wait, we haven't done gyro, have we?
we have. Gyro
Who played it? Who played it?
You did.
Oh god, it must have been
That was
awful.
my worst game. That was when I was playing Void. That was pretty bad.
Did I didn't max homing miss. Oh, that's right. You were going to get mad at me. Yeah. syndereN gets really mad at me behind the scenes, guys. Not really, but Huskar, inner vitality cooldown has been reduced at level 2, 3, and 4. Berserker's blood attack speed bonus has been increased at the first 3 levels. Life break cooldown has been reduced drastically to 12 seconds. So far all buffs. Life break damage reduced from 50% to 35%. So that's a nerf, obviously. Aghanims is still the same though at 65, which is a huge jump, by the way. And I feel Aghanims is something you're going to get anyway. Life break self damage rebalanced to 35%, so kind of in the middle. Life break slow duration rebalanced again in the middle, 4, 5, 6, just averages out kind of. And life break slow rebalanced to 50%. So, Huskar, thoughts?
I'm not really sure which place this hero is in. I like to see inner vitality get buffed. It was when you looked at how Huskars were generally skilled. You generally max Berserker's blood and then or Burning Spears first, and then inner vitality kind of was always overshadowed by those two, right? I'm not saying you didn't get it, and sometimes you got like 1 point in Burning Spear just for the orb attack and for the lane, and then you max inner vitality after Berserker's blood. But with this different scaling, I feel like Berserker's blood level 1 is really, really good. Like, if you look at how it scales attack speed bonus-wise, I guess the magic resistance is still the same scaling as before, right? This is the attack speed only. So if you keep the skill on level 1, you don't have much magic resistance, but you get a lot of attack speed. So let's say you're playing Huskar into a very physical damage-oriented lineup. Then instead of maxing out Berserker's Blood for useless magic resistance against that physical damage team, you can take 1 point and have great attack speed, and then you can max your Inner Vitality early. To keep yourself going and use it together with
Inner
Burning
Vitality
Spears,
is
etc.
so bad at level 1. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
that from experience.
It's awful on level 1.
Yeah,
So you need
it'd
to
be
max
nice
it. And
to be more flexible.
around the point when you max it, which would usually be at level 14, right? Then you would have loved to have it earlier. So it's good to make him a little more flexible. With the cooldown on Life Break reduced this much, I'm not sure Ags is as desirable as before. It's more like you get a lot of damage out of it. It goes from 35 to 65, but that's it, right? Or is the cooldown lower? Is it 6 or 5 with Ags, I think? Like really, really low on Life Break.
It's 6,
but,
I believe.
Yeah. So yes, you still get some cooldown reduction, but it's okay, I guess. For me, this overall just means you can play the hero differently. It gives him more options where he was really one-dimensional before. Now you can do some other things. Whether it's a buff or nerf overall, it looks like his damage is nerfed, but his survivability is buffed, right? If you get Inner Vitality, it gets better, and Life Break gets worse. So,
Well, Burning Spears is already his damage source. That wasn't touched, and I feel like
yeah.
even without his ult, that's so much damage to begin with.
Oh, it's 4 with Ags, actually, the cooldown. So it's even
Holy
better.
crap, 4? That's... Damn.
What a full hero.
So good.
I don't know. It's still kind of a gimmicky hero for me, but I think the changes overall are good. I don't want to linger too much on it, though.
Invoker, Tornado Flying Vision area reduced by a lot, 50%. Tornado damage from 2 times Wex plus Quas to 3 times Wex. So this is a nerf for both, I believe, because Wex isn't typically leveled that high, right? Is that how I'm reading it?
Or not for the damage. The damage is a buff.
Okay.
So generally, Invoker's played one of 2 ways, right? Either, or it depends. If you're an Exort Invoker, this is a nerf to damage. If you're anything else, it's a buff, right? If you're a hybrid or no, if you're a hybrid, it doesn't matter. So if you're Quas Wex, it's a buff to damage. If you're Exort, it's a nerf. So the idea is, let's say, the most common way of building Invoker right now is 4 Quas, 4 Exort, and then Invoke, of course, so you get 4 Spears really fast, and then you get 1 point in Wex to have a Tornado Initiation, to have Deafening Blast, etc. So with that, you would deal less damage now, because the Quas from your Forge Spirit skill, or build-up, doesn't give damage to Tornado. But if you're playing Quas Wex Invoker, you will have higher points in Wex than Quas, because you want to max that for the EMP to get stronger, and for the longer disable or disarm on Deafening Blast. So I would say overall, this is a nerf to Exort Invoker and a buff to Wex, even though the Wex also gets less flying vision. It's still enough. 600 is still a lot, right? You clearly see the area around where you're hitting, just not.
I didn't realize it
incredibly
was
much.
1200 before. It's quite a bit. How much is a ward? Is it 18?
I actually don't know.
I
I'm
think
not
it's
sure what
I
the
think it's
flying
18.
vision is from that.
100, that is. Could be wrong, because I don't buy wards, so I guess I shouldn't know that. Anyway, Jakiro, dual breath, movement, and attack speed slow has been rebalanced. This is not much of a nerf for one of the... This hero's been picked a lot lately. Not for dual breath, but I still
Liquid
feel like...
fire.
Because I think a lot of people, they would max liquid fire, right? And I would think that they would get 1 level of ice, whatever it's called, ice wall, what is it?
Ice Path.
Ice Path, and 1 level of dual breath. I don't know what they max second, though. Is it Ice Path or dual breath?
I think most of the Jakiro builds I've seen so far have been like 0441 or something like that. Maybe 1 point in dual breath. But
Interesting, okay.
I feel like dual breath got nerfed when it got changed from having burst damage
Yeah.
to only damage over time.
Yeah,
We talked
for
about
sure.
that in the previous analysis. So I like that it gets another buff. I'm not sure if this is enough, but just buffing dual breath is fine by me. It's still,
Yeah.
it's underwhelming is the best way to put it. So good to get a little bit of buff on that.
Juggernaut! The following abilities no longer cancel Blade Fury, Chronosphere, Toss, Black Hole, Global Science, Doom, and the Blade Fury cooldown has been reduced at the later levels. This was always one of those just super weird things. I mean, I think the Chronosphere is the one I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense that it would stop. But Toss, no idea why. Black Hole, it kind of made sense. I mean, so when you Black Hole Juggernaut, when he spins, he's still going to get stunned, obviously, but his spin is going to continue to go.
I want to see Enigma get killed from black holing a Juggernaut with
Yeah,
Blade
it's
Fury on.
definitely possible.
Worth noting, though, is that you still get affected by everything. So it doesn't cancel Blade Fury, but you still get silenced by Global Silence, for example. So if your Blade Fury is about to end, you can't ulti afterwards. You'll be silenced.
Right.
And of course, you'll be doomed. So
Does
again,
deal a
it's
little
just
bit
one
of
of those
damage.
changes where I guess perhaps, you know, some people are proponents of this and other people think it's stupid, but I kind of liked a lot of the gimmicky things that worked on a few occasions. But if you're a new player coming in, or when you look at it, is it a good or a bad thing that there's these weird interactions with one ability, right? Does it give the game more than it creates confusion? And I guess the consensus at this point in time is that we're kind of moving away from these silly things and trying to make it a little more streamlined.
Yeah.
I know this, a lot of the hardcore Dota fans will think this is a shame. I think some of them are a shame, but also, I mean, if I had to choose one or the other, I guess the way
How
it's
is
going
this
now
a
is actually
shame?
better.
This one. I understand what you're saying, but this one, like, who? Okay, maybe if you're playing the tiny that tosses, they're like, okay, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. But I feel like this is just so gimmicky and so arbitrary. I think it's for the better. Don't be sad, syndereN. Please. Please. I
I'm
beg
okay.
of you. Your favorite hero, Keeper of the Light, man. Your
Light
other
Fury cooldown
favorite
got
hero.
buffed, by the way,
Yep.
a little bit. Yeah.
Mana leak, mana removal percentage has been increased to. I mean, this is equivalent to level 4 from last time, so that's definite buff. Mana leak duration increased by a second at all levels. Recall can now target invulnerable allies. The example they gave here was Song of the Siren. What other people are invulnerable? Like Puck.
Stones made by Earth Spirit.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Yeah, Stones by Earth
I think
Spirit.
I don't know if you can summon Puck
Outworld
because I
Devourer.
think Puck is untargetable as well. They
Well, no,
shift.
no. If you, let's say you were recalling, and then, like right before you get recalled, he phase shifted, he
It would
wouldn't
still
come
be
back.
recalled. It would override, I think.
Before it would?
But yeah, I
Are you
think so.
sure?
Almost.
You're almost sure. Okay, because
Yeah.
that's the only few I could think of. But that's
Um,
interesting. And then blinding
there's a
light
couple of
knockback
other.
has been increased quite a bit. This is a lot of buffs for a hero that you feel should be played a lot more thanks to the last buff he got with Aghanim Scepter, which I mean I agree, I definitely agree with. And the fact that this is a hero that can easily get farm, like it's not like Shadow Demon Aghanim Scepter. Like when the hell are you gonna get that unless you solo mid? Like I know you want Keeper of the Light to solo mid to get an Ags, but you don't necessarily have to. You can be the 4 and still legitimately get an
Yeah.
Aghanim Scepter.
In my book, it's one of the best Ags upgrades in the game, just hands down. It's incredible. But um, maybe this will give him a little more play. I think the my question is with the knockback distance of blinding light. I'm guessing the travel time is the same, so it's not they're not knocked back longer, just a
Mm.
bigger distance, not longer time. But of course, this gives it better synergy with Mana Leak, and it gives it more impact in the fights. There's a little bit more wow effect to knocking someone 400 either away or into your team. So I think it's cool. I don't mind Blinding Light getting a little bit of a buff. It's a great ability already, but this this makes it seem a little more impactful as an ultimate
Mm.
ability, right? It's good overall. It's buffs all the way. So
Play this here. Well, actually, do you think Mana Leak getting? I find this to be a pretty legitimate buff here. Do you get a level of that early? Like just one casual point?
just
I
got
feel like this
such
has
a
a value
bad
point big
cast
time.
range. That's the problem. The
Mm.
cast range on level one is garbage, and I think it needs to be because if the cast range on level one was good, then the ability might be too good. It
Mm-hmm.
has to have a weakness early on. But we'll see. Maybe that gets scaled a little bit differently in the next versions. But I think it's like 400, 600, 800, and 1,000 or something like that. So, and how often does Keeper of the Light get into 400 range of an enemy? It's
That's
not that
true.
often.
He's on a horse though, so he's pretty fast. Kunkka X
True.
marks a spot cooldown has been rescaled a bit. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Legion Commander enable in Captain's mode to a lot of people's dismay. I don't know some people that like to. I mean, I'm as a spectator, I'd love to see this hero, but competitive players they don't seem too excited about it. I don't think. But Duel no longer disables passives. Um, I didn't even know it really did that before. So you can't backtrack, or you couldn't backtrack before in LC ult kind of thing.
No, you couldn't.
Interesting. Okay, so
And you couldn't lifesteal with Lifestealer and stuff like that, I
huh,
guess.
that's crazy. I didn't know. Okay, overwhelming odds, which I feel to be his most OP skill, honestly. The
Her.
base damage. I will forever think of this hero as a huge mustache on a horse because it was the best model in Dota. Super disappointed. Okay. Overwhelming odds has been nerfed a tad. If you really look at it, it's not that much though, because most of the damage is going to be coming from the extra damage normally, from
Yeah.
how many units are around. And press the attack mana cost has basically been nerfed as well. What are your thoughts on this
I
hero?
think with these nerfs implemented, I think it's okay to try her out in CM. I was a little bit worried if the hero just got put into CM the way it was, or if dual didn't disable passives anymore, it would be dangerous, but overwhelming odds, I still need to see in competitive play how crazy it is. I think it's amazing, and I still think with this nerf, this hero is still great. But maybe it's okay. We're gonna have our questions answered. I think it's good to give the heroes a test run at this point when they've been out of CM for so long. See if it's good. If it's too good, just give it a
Have an
nerf.
emergency disable button.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it'll be fine. Lesh, who we brought up kind of earlier about the Diabolic Edict changes, as far as damage is concerned. Pulse Nova damage increased at level
Again.
1 more so than the rest. Agnum Scepter damage has increased as well, mostly at level 1. This is
Except on
like
level 1.
this is like
Look at that.
please pick me at level 6. Pick your ultimate Leshrac players. That is what IceFrog is telling everybody. And the
Yeah,
Pulse Nova
this is-
activation, which is like the biggest reason you wouldn't get it, honestly, has been reduced a lot by 40, which is a pretty big deal.
I think this hero would be a top pick if BKB didn't exist. Like the only reason Leshrac really falls off. The scaling of Pulse Nova is incredible, and with Axe, just look at level 1, 160 damage per second. It's insanely good.
What if the
Now with
Aghanims,
less
instead
mana
of
cost,
damage
too.
increase, went through BKB? Too good?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I also feel like it's important that Leshrac has that weak point, that he's very weak against magic resistance and magic immunity, but I'm just thinking right now, if you run a Leshrac as a core and you get an Axe early, this hero, before heroes start getting their BKBs up, will just crush stuff, left, right, and center. If he gets into the middle of a fight, it's incredible, but we'll see. I like that it's trying to be made into a core again. It's one of my favorite cores.
Yeah, it's
so.
such a boring freaking hero to watch as a support. Like, Jesus H, man. I remember the core Leshes. I mean, maybe it's not the most fun hero, but push heavy, lots of kills. What's not to like? Lich Ice Armor now slows range heroes for the full amount instead of half. I don't understand why it was ever like that. I mean, there was a lot of things that were changed in, I don't remember if it was the last patch or the previous one, where a lot of arbitrary mechanics were, such as this, were changed. I can't remember specifics for that one in particular, but like, why do range heroes? I remember what I was thinking. Actually, this was way back. Was it melee that got more experience from a denial than range at some point? Is that right?
Yes, we
Okay.
talked about that earlier.
We did?
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah, that ranged heroes used to get 1/3 of the experience for a deny instead
Oh,
of
no, I wasn't
50%.
listening. Okay, so anyway.
I know.
It's 4 in the morning. Okay, give me a freaking break.
No, it's not.
For me, it is. What do you think about this? Ice Armor. It's an amazing
Fine.
ability. It's really
It's
good.
fine. I like the idea of implementing it on ranged heroes and then being a little bit careful first to see how good it was, and then why not? Right.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right, Lena, your favorite hero again. Light Strike Array cast range has been increased by 25. What's her attack range now? Her normal attack? Is it
650, I
625?
think.
Oh, 650? Light Strike. Wait, no, it's not. Can you look it up? It's gonna bother me.
670.
Okay, I knew it was some random number. 670. Okay, Light Strike Array stun duration has been increased at the later levels.
That's good. That's very good. I wanted this ability to scale better. If you look at the old scaling, 0.1 second per level of stun, what ability has that?
Yeah.
Like, really bad. Now it's getting better. I wouldn't even mind seeing it scaling up to 2.5, to be honest. For like 1.6, 1.9, 2. What would that be?
What do you think
2.1,
about?
2.4 then, but
I know that I
wait,
bring
I
this
did
up
something
from
wrong
time to
along that
time.
way, but, you know.
What do you think about just changing her, like, animations, making them just a little bit better? Maybe from
Then-
cringeworthy terrible to bearable.
Then you're starting to streamline her with other supports. It's the hero's weakness. What she needs to be slow. It's what she does. It's like Crystal Maiden's weakness, but other supports are faster.
I guess.
But then again, there's actually quite a few supports that are slow like that. So maybe she doesn't need to be one of them. Now that you're saying it. Leshrac is really slow, casting wise. So is Crystal Maiden. Or she's slow movement wise, but not casting.
You'd
wise.
think,
Anyway,
like, being mages and whatnot, you know, growing up, that's all you care about is spells. How can you cast your spell so freaking slow? Like, you've dedicated your life to this. It's like if Rubik struggles with his telekinesis, like, oh, I can't quite lift them. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
he's the Grand Magus though. It's different.